Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for the segment, we have Sara Mehle, Index Research Strategist at Nasdaq Global Indexes, to review June performance for the 107 indexes at Nasdaq tracks, with over 100 finishing in positive territory. Sara, quite the month of June for the indexes.
Jill, yeah, it was a really strong month. Like we talked about a few weeks ago, we finished out the second quarter of 2023 with record gains, 38%. That's the best first half we've seen for the first half of the year for the Nasdaq 100 index, going back to inception since 1985. But looking here, again, we dissected our indexes down into 107. 101 of those finished in positive territory for June. So across all 107, the average June gain was 5.4%. The best performing was the Nasdaq Sprott Junior Uranium Miners Index, which was up just under 19%. And while the worst performing was the Nasdaq OMX Global Wind Index, which fell 2.7%. So we've seen some strength here in the Nasdaq featured indexes. In particular, we saw the Nasdaq Q50 outperform, gaining over 8%. And within this universe, the Felix Gold Silver Sector Index did lag, falling about 2%. But again, very few and far between in terms of seeing those indexes that fell for June. Within the global index lineup, we saw the U.S. mid-cap lead the way, up 9%, so outperforming the small and large caps. And then when we look at developed versus emerging, we really are seeing developed here outpace those emerging. But yeah, so on this particular slide, again, the Q50 and the US mid-cap. But I think we can go on to the next one with the OMX Nordic indexes as well.
Right, and what if we take a look at some of the green economy indexes?
Yeah, so again, we were mostly positive in the Nordic indexes, up 3.4%. Within the green economy, similar story. Very strong in terms of the Nasdaq OMX Green Economy Index, up 10%, while we did see the wind index fall about 2.7%. So really some huge dispersion there within the particular lineup. And then within the dividend and income space, we saw the Nasdaq US mid cap rising. Again, those mid and small caps outperforming, up 11.6%. We also saw strength in Nasdaq US buyback achievers, as well as Nasdaq US rising dividends.
And what if we switch gears a bit, take a look at some of the more technical indexes that we follow?
Yeah, so it was a really strong month for Dorsey Wright and those relative strength-driven indexes. All of them finished in positive territory for June. The top performer was the Dorsey Wright Industrials Technical Leaders Index, up 12.2. Right behind it, the Dorsey Wright Basic Materials Technical Leaders Index, up 12.3. So strength from industrials, basic materials, also energy up there. We saw weakness, relatively speaking, of course, in the Dorsey Wright Utilities Technical Leaders Index, up 1.7, and then also in emerging markets and consumer staples. So consumer staples, utilities, some of those risk-off sectors towards the bottom there in terms of performance, but really we saw the performance driven by industrials and basic materials. And then within our options suite, we saw outperformance from the Nasdaq 100 quarterly protected put index, which was up a little over 6%.
And finally, taking a look at some of the thematic tech indexes, no surprise to see the performance here.
Yeah, as we've talked about, for the past few months, AI, cloud computing, things like that, it's no surprise to see that all of our Nasdaq thematic tech index finished in positive territory for June. The outperformer here was the Nasdaq, Global Future Mobility Index, up 8%, followed by U.S. Smart Semiconductor. We also saw strength in the KBW Nasdaq Financial Technology Index and the Nasdaq, Global Innovative Tech X Disruptive Index. Down there towards the bottom, some of the laggards, again, relatively speaking, because we did see these all finished in positive territory, was the Biotech Index, finished up 10 basis points. But, on a rolling one-year basis, the Nasdaq 100 is now up over 32%. This is a very different market environment that we've seen when compared to 2022. We've seen inflation readings cool, but we did see, the Fed pause rates with this most recent potential rate hiking cycle. And so, we're continuing on. The first half of the year was really good in terms of performance, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the year performs.
All right, Sara, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.